What up? What up? What up? We back. This is Tea with
Tamela.
Tamela. This is Tea with Tamela, and it's your boy Demario. I am honored as the co-host today. That's what I am, the co-host. But she has
You are so
gifted me
funny.
with the privilege of being able to steer the ship today. I'm so grateful to you. I don't know any show. I don't even know if Ellen has let somebody else.
She has.
She has?
Ellen has.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Ellen's great. So that's what I'm saying. You right there with Ellen, like,
No, you're so great.
you know what I'm saying?
My
So, like, I
guest
mean,
host. I have a guest host today.
yes, host, she let me steer the ship. So I'm just grateful
I'm
in
glad
all
you're
the
grateful.
ways. Today we're gonna be talking about what we talking about.
We're talking about parenting.
Parenting.
Parenting. We are parents to 5
kids.
little people.
Go through our kids.
Okay, so we have first. Let me say this. We got married. Well, before we got married, we knew that we wanted kids. We knew we wanted probably 6 was kind of like our
Already
magic
had
number.
them named.
We had a majority of them named. We didn't have Stormy Love. That's a new one.
That was new.
But we had most of the kids named.
Mm-hmm.
And we said that we were going to wait 2 years after we got married.
How long we wait?
To have children. So what happened was I took you for your birthday. So Demario's favorite movie
Set me up, y'all.
is listen to this, people. His favorite movie is The Lion King.
She set me up.
His favorite movie of all time?
All time.
It all time?
Not even close.
Okay. So his favorite movie of all time is The Lion King. So we're living in Jersey and I'm a Broadway girl, love the things, and all things Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, it's his birthday. Lion King's his favorite movie.
She knew.
And I was like, let's do a weekend in New York. So I planned out this weekend. I surprised him with tickets to the Lion King and for myself, A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which was another family type play. And so we're in Lion King. I can't remember. We went to A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof maybe first. And you were like, oh, like I want to be, was it Big Daddy or something like that? I want to be Big Daddy or something like that. So it's like, oh, that means you have to, have kids and, all that. So we get into Lion King and I don't know, at some point in the play, Demario leans over to me and he goes, I want to start working on having kids tonight. I'm like, wait, what? Like, in the Circle of Life, the Disney play?
No, it's 2 parts in Lion King. Anybody who's
First
seen
of all,
it,
the Lion King make you want to have kids.
It do. Anybody that's seen it, Mufasa, Simba,
That was look. I had to. You had to explain that to me because I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something here.
He walking behind his dad and he stick his little hand in that big footprint and he like, I gotta live up to that. And then he lives waywardly, and his dad tells him, "You've forgotten who you are. You've forgotten who you are, so therefore you've forgotten me." And like you just start thinking about legacy and what you're gonna leave. And now we have 5, and that's our legacy.
And that's our legacy. And it began earlier than we had prepared or planned, I guess, initially from our premarital.
But you were setting that up.
I was not.
You even had me watching Love Come Softly.
Okay,
and all the generation of kids and Ma and Paul. You start calling me Paul. I'm like, you setting up something. When I think back, like, oh, she had a plan.
That was not a setup.
It was a good plan.
Okay,
I wanted to be a part of that plan.
I'm glad you wanted to be a part of that plan. I still don't understand how The Lion King began our parenting journey a little bit earlier than we had initially anticipated. But hey, they're here. We have these 5 little people.
Talk about our 5.
So we have Bailey Grace, who's the oldest. She's about to be 9. And we have Roman Parker, who's 7.
She's about to be 9.
We've been doing this for 9 years.
She's about to be 9.
And we still, I don't even know if we got it together yet.
Next week. Next week. Like 7 days. Like a full week. She's going to be turning 9.
She'll be turning 9.
1 year away from double digits.
Ooh, that's scary. Not ready for all those things. So yeah, she's 9. Then we have the one and only son, Roman Parker's 7. Summer Joy is 6. Carly Faith is 3, and then Stormy Love is 1. And so we had little stair steppers, took a little break, and I guess now we're trying to figure out. Are we done? Are we not? We don't know. Which is kind of in limbo type.
Our number was 6. So this is the lay of the land, guys. We had 5. And we always said that we started with, you wanted 5,
Like,
and I said
yes.
6.
Yes.
So our number became 6 because I said you can't have an odd number.
And I don't like odd numbers.
And we both settled at 6. We were like, okay, 6 is our number. And then we got to 5, and we're looking at it, and our kids are all of them have very bold personalities. And so we're like, we don't feel like we're at capacity, but like we want to make sure that we're able to give them all of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
And they're always all competing for the spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, do we go for 6? But then Tam wants twins.
So yeah, that's the funny part. Since baby number 1, we've always gone in and like, is there 2? And they're like, there's 1. And they're like, you
Every
guys are
time.
crazy.
Can you?
Nobody wants to keep
She's
at the
like, can
same
you check again? Can you check
One time I
again?
was like, is there 3? They're like, 1, ma'am. 1. There's 1.
I feel like you've had the twin dream every time.
Still have
So
no twins.
we'll see. We'll see. And so we don't know. And I'm actually more a 7 person. That's why I haven't gone for 6, because 6 is a number of incompletion.
Oh, goodness.
So like now I'm like, okay, well, we gotta go for 7. So it's like, do we stay at 5 or do we stay? So
5 or 7. 5 or 7 people.
hey, many are the plans of man, but only the purpose of the Lord prevails.
That part.
So into parenting, we did a dialogue a bit ago about boundaries, and respecting children's boundaries was a little piece we hit on briefly inside of there. Talk about what that looks like in how you parent and how you create relationships, and how you even though they're children and you're raising them up, but you also see them as human beings and not as little things that you can command around.
Well, yeah, so going back before I even hit on that is what I was able to identify about myself is growing up I didn't have a ton of boundaries as I kind of talked about, and I wasn't encouraged to have those boundaries. I feel like as I attempted to create boundaries, those boundaries were shot down. So I was extremely emotional in certain areas, a very big people pleaser in a lot of other areas. And I couldn't really put my finger on when all of those things were established. And it goes to having a lack of boundaries and not really being encouraged to create those boundaries and stick to them. But the other thing was I was in an environment where it's like, you're a child and you stay in a child's place. And I do feel like, yes, children do have to remain in a child's place when it comes to certain things, but that can't be the rule, like the golden rule of like it applies in every area of life in every way. And so because of certain things that I was exposed to as a child, it made me really desire to do things differently when it came to because my passion was to work with kids, but that was developed because I wanted to provide them with things that I wasn't provided with. So the first thing that happened was I started to work at a daycare center when I was in college. Go to the daycare center and I see like these children and they're like being almost like they're being forced in a non I don't even know the word that I want to use. Pretty much they were being forced in a way to do things that they didn't necessarily desire to do, and they had reasons behind it. So they were trying to create boundaries, but their boundaries were being shut down. And so not just in them creating boundaries that it wasn't just them trying to create these boundaries that caused frustration, but I was also frustrated with how they were being treated. I felt like for them to be little children, like they were being treated unfairly. But then at the time, like I'm a college student working with in a daycare center, and then there's these people who are over me and they're running the show. So I'm like, oh, well, let's take notes on this. So take notes on that. Then I start to work in the public school a little bit, and then I see it again of how children can really be in environments where they are forced to operate robotically. And it's like, I'm a person who likes things to function in a robotic way, but not with the people functioning as they're robots. Like
Mhm.
there's a difference in things being robotic and then having people to act robotic. Two completely different things. And so because of that, I started to jot down like what my parenting style would be, what that would look like for my kids. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I want my kids to be respected
Mhm.
because people don't respect kids
Mm.
and they are human. Like they are little people. They have thoughts and feelings and emotions. And when you're starting to shut that down or go at them negatively at such a young age, they become comfortable with that. Like that
Mhm.
becomes like all that they're exposed to. They think that's the right way. And it forces them to move in a way that's unhealthy for them later in life. And so because of that, because of all the things I experienced and then watch other kids experience, I was like, okay, I don't want this for my kids.
Mhm.
And in not wanting that for them, it's like, how do I shepherd them in a way where I'm able to steward their gifts? Because when kids are doing certain things or asking certain questions, it's not always them acting out, it's not always them being disrespectful.
Mhm.
It's something that God's placed inside of them that they don't have the wisdom to.
Either communicate or
Yes.
understand fully. Like, they
Yes.
have a feeling, it's coming
Yes.
from somewhere.
It's
They
coming
may
from
not
the
be able to express it all the way.
and so
Um,
as those things come out, it's up to me as the parent to shepherd it and not like put a blanket over their gifts, but to teach them how to walk into those things.
yeah, and then, what shocked me is because kids ask a lot of
Oh,
questions.
they ask so many
They ask
questions.
so many questions, but you have to realize that some of the questions that they're asking, this is the first time they've ever seen this.
Mhm.
So they don't know what to make of it. They don't know if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. They don't know what it's connected to, why you're doing it. Um, you know, it could sound disrespectful, but like, your kids ask us in times like, why are y'all always on your phone?
Yes.
Your kids will just ask you that. Like, why are you always on your phone? The kid doesn't know that there's work on the phone, that there's social on the phone, that there's friends on the phone, that you have all these things going on. The kid doesn't know that. All they know is they see you and you're holding your phone all the time. And so the quick response, especially if you got something going on your phone that's you're already kind of frantic about, is like, stop asking questions, go in there.
Get out of here. Go in
Yeah,
there and play.
yeah. Instead of explaining to them like how phones work in society, you can explain to them the history. Like, at one time, we didn't have this way of communication, and now it's rampant. And you can explain to them like things that's going on in society that they can comprehend.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so we have a lot of conversations with our children.
Hmm.
And I've heard, people say, like, I wouldn't be having all these conversations with a child, or
Mm.
I wouldn't be answering all those questions
Hmm.
for a child. Like, those are things that we've heard.
Yeah,
And how we parent is completely opposite
yeah.
from how we were parented.
Hmm.
And
Not completely, but in a lot of ways,
in
very
a lot
different.
of ways, it was extremely
Yeah,
different.
it's
Like,
very different.
um, very, very
It's,
different,
it's
and
different.
I feel like it took people a little while to understand, like, our why behind doing things different, and it's like, it's not to say that everything that we experienced in our childhood was wrong. It was just like, no, like, we're gonna pick the things that
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
keep the
adopt,
good. We're gonna keep the
and we're
good.
gonna get rid of the
So
things that
we
we
got to
felt
upgrade
like weren't
generationally.
beneficial for us. And that's something people have to do. You have to upgrade and you have to make adjustments to things
Hmm.
that might not have been beneficial for you
Hmm. If you're
or
not getting better over time, it's a problem,
exactly.
and it's gonna have more bad than it is good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So how d
Imagine using a phone from 1950 in 2022.
well, it just doesn't work. Like, the
Yeah, it
times
would.
have changed. So,
Yeah.
like,
So that
parenting styles
it's
have
same.
changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we kind of decide, like, our parenting style? Like, outside of me, like, I guess some things you might have had to buy into on my side and other
Yeah. I
things.
think we've picked up along the way.
Yeah.
We knew everything about what we were setting up was going to be different. Number one, coming into this true relationship with God, and living that out differently than
Mhm.
how we had seen it.
Mhm.
Right? It's not saying, um it's it's a gospel on display,
Mhm.
is what we learned in college. And then we want to display that in our marriage. We want to display that in our parenting. And so the word says, "Is me and my house we will serve the Lord." So what does a house look like when you're serving the Lord with your children? And I think you keep saying the term shepherding. So you can, that's what our parenting style is. It's shepherding. You can talk more about that. I keep hearing you say shepherding. Like, what's the difference in parenting, the way the world just sees parenting, and shepherding?
Well, I think about, like, I think about them as a little flock, and it's
Hmm.
like I am in charge of making sure that they become all that God has called them to be.
Hmm.
I'm in control of shaping and molding them as individuals to understand, like, their purpose, to understand their gifts, to understand how God has called them to live. And so in doing that, firstly, I have to model that.
Hmm.
Like, it's one thing, I can't just tell them a list of rules to follow, a list of commandments that thus says the Lord, and then I don't model those things. So
Hmm.
it's like living my life on purpose by example so that they are able to watch that, but then also teaching them in a way that I'm getting to their eye level. I'm going, you know, to their learning style, that I'm helping them grow and be nourished in all walks of life.
Hmm.
And I think it becomes challenging at times, because what I've learned is how I although I'm shepherding everybody, I can't shepherd everybody the same.
Hmm.
Like, it looks different for each child,
Hmm.
but it requires me to really learn each child individually, to learn what we're gonna do for everybody collectively,
Hmm.
and then to find ways to be intentional with that. And it's hard when you have as many as we have, but I think that's the beauty of adopting this intentional parenting way of life. And it's required a lot of research, or a lot of reading, a lot of dying to self, but it's been extremely beneficial,
Hmm.
I think, in the children that, like, we're shooting out into the world. It's
Yeah,
been beneficial, and I'm excited about it.
and very much so. Got a lot to be excited about. I'm gonna get into that, like, that you're shooting out into the world. I want to circle back to that, but I want to briefly hit on, especially in today's society where this can be very controversial, what discipline looks like. We're called to train and discipline our kids.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
what is and I think what people would believe is, oh, you having all these conversations with your kids, you like you let them establish their own boundaries. Like, those
The
kids probably just running
those
around.
kids is running wild over there in the
Yeah,
Davis
yeah, yeah.
household.
So, like, talk about, like, we're not just training our kids or just shepherding our kids. We discipline our kids. What does discipline look like in our home? Like, how do we view discipline?
Well, I think we view discipline, I honestly don't. So I'm the bad cop.
Hmm.
You're the
Yeah,
good cop.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think we were intentional about establishing that. One, like, I'm home all the time, and our
Hmm.
kids don't go to school. They're homeschooled. So
Hmm.
I'm here momming, teachering, chefing,
All day long.
chauffeuring, doing all
Yeah,
the things.
yeah.
And because I like things to function robotically,
Hmm.
but not the kids to feel like they're
Robot.
robots,
Yep.
like, I have to have a lot of structure, a
That's a
lot of
good. I like
routine.
that. That's a good analogy.
Um, and a lot of checklists. And so
Hmm.
I'm kind of a nice drill sergeant.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't say nice, but kind of a drill sergeant. You're more of the fun parent. But when it comes to discipline, I think there are so many different ways, and you have to discipline in a way that is age appropriate.
Yep.
And so, what works for your 1, 2 year old
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily work for the 9 year old.
Yeah.
And then how we did whatever for the now 9 year old when she was 5 doesn't work for the 5.
Hmm.
So you have that. It's like a customizable
Hmm.
discipline plan. And so one of the things that we've done is, when our kids were really, really little, we would get to their eye level.
Hmm.
And so instead of speaking down, like, over them, we would either
Hmm.
get down to their eye level, or we would bring them up to our eye level,
Hmm.
to look them in their eye and state whatever our boundaries were, whatever our expectations were, but then give them an opportunity to, as they got older, say what they, ask them questions back. So getting to the eye level was something that we did a lot. We don't, we have a lot of intentional conversations. Um, when they are little, we joke about our little spoon that I wrote like pow pow on, but we're not a family that really pow pow spank. We don't really give poppies a ton. And it's because we've learned that there's a way to, I guess, punish the children for their actions that are outside of what we've established for our family that are non-negotiable. There's a way to discipline them without having to go that route.
Yeah.
And so whether that's taking things away, whether it's timeouts, whether it's what are some other things we do? I don't even
Uh, Sometimes it's just stirring conversations
start.
and,
Yeah,
and
starting
hard
hard conversations for sure.
and what we learned is because I don't think you were ever really a big fan of Pow Pows.
No, I wasn't, because
Um,
I was a kid who
yeah,
got pow pows, but I didn't need them.
yeah.
I
Well, I
did.
got them and I needed them,
Oh, I
and
didn't
and
need
so
them.
I grew up naturally a fan of Pow Pows, and we've had to have times where we had to, but
We have had to. Yeah.
very rarely. And what you realize is, I think we both agree, is they're not as needed if you do all the other little things that lead up to it. And so, like, the Pow Pow is actually the end. Like, that should be the last resort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where I have to do something to you, because discipline is, my goal is to get you to walk in the instruction of the household.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my goal is. And you can self-discipline, meaning do whatever you need to do to get to that instruction. Well, when we look at you, you're living that out and doing that. Um, and if necessary, we will help you get to there.
Mm-hmm.
But what's not negotiated is you getting to the instruction of the household.
Mm-hmm.
The rules of the household will be followed. And so you don't have to uh, be like this iron ruler to get that.
Exactly. You
You
can do it
can
in love.
you can do it in love. You can do it and all of it is in love. But it doesn't have to be this forceful, direct way, because most times the children are trying to live up to the instruction.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just like, oh, I see that instruction, I'm not gonna follow that. That
Mm-hmm.
don't make no sense.
Well, you don't teach them to sin. It's
Yeah,
just a natural
it's
part
in
of
them.
sin.
It's in
It's
them.
in them.
And so sometimes they're doing things they don't even understand why they're doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so helping them understand, like, our kids are big. Our kids, they have 1 hour and a half a night where they can watch devices, and they have a list of things that they can watch on YouTube that we've approved, or they can just watch regular TV shows. And our kids have had times where they were watching stuff on YouTube that they shouldn't have been watching, and we didn't have to whoop them over it. Um, we could take the device away, or we could have a conversation with them to help them understand, like, why did you go watch something else?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I went and watched something else. Well, it's because there's a lot of options that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
and those things are going to pull you. And if you linger past where you're supposed to be, and this is why, and let them know, like, this is why we don't let you guys watch YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
because it does that. It's going to pull you. It pulls adults. It pulls a lot of individuals to things that they didn't want to watch or didn't have plans to watch it. And so, like, understand, like, that's going to happen. And so what they're learning is how to set up a boundary for themselves.
Right.
Like, I don't want to go watch that other stuff, so I need to know I'm going directly to the show I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch that, and then I'm going to get off.
Right.
And understand, if I don't do that, there are going to be consequences.
Exactly.
And and then, like, not budging when they do. Now they know this, and when it happens, you might lose your device for a week. No device time, or something like that. And so, uh, I mean, we've seen. And then what happens? The older kids start to fall in line. The younger kids follow them.
Right. But with that intentional parenting, I guess that's a term that's being used loosely nowadays. Is it requires so much work and you being like conscious of so many things to where it's it doesn't come natural for a lot of people,
Mhm.
because word choices, you know, like we don't let our kids say like tattletale or
Mhm.
like it's like, oh no, like she's seeking
Seeks justice.
justice. But it's like I have to remember to say, because I be wanting to say,
Yeah.
stop tattling.
Or you don't listen. Like, no, they're strong willed.
Right.
You know.
And so, and that's not to say we don't ever say these things,
Yeah.
but that we have like codes of
Yeah.
when we're doing something outside of, or saying something or acting in a way that it's outside of the guidelines that we set of
Mhm.
how we're going to parent.
Mhm.
We have to call each other out and hold
Yeah.
each other
Oh, we always have
accountable.
to do that. Yeah.
BP.
BP, bad parent. Ain't no bad kids, it's bad parents.
Bad parenting. So,
Yeah.
like, if I hear myself getting louder than I probably should be, I can also hear somebody say, BP,
Yeah.
BP. I'm like, oh man, I'm probably yelling like a little too loud. Okay. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to yell,
Yeah.
but what I am trying to communicate here. And so I think it takes a lot of intentionality, but a lot of accountability as well.
Yeah. The piece as we get ready to wrap up, that kind of going back to your arrows being shot up in the world, out into the world, and the Bible says, train a child up in a way that they should go, and when they get old, they won't depart from it. What are the things that you're excited to see your kids grow into and grow to become? Like, we know we have all kind of plans for our kids, but what is it that you foresee in the future of, man, your kids get, what we say we have 18 years left.
We got 18 years, but
18 years
if
left.
we get those other two, we gonna
Yeah,
have them
we'll
long.
start over.
We
That's what, see,
we gonna
see,
have
that
them
takes us
get
back.
about
That
like
don't,
20
that
years.
that don't push us in the right direction. That don't push that. So, but okay, what is it that you would want to see all your kids at, 18, 20 years, um, all out of the house and doing their thing? What is it that you're gonna look at and be like, you know what? I fulfill what I wanted to do as a parent.
Well, I think what I would love to see is for them to, one, love, serve, and honor God like with their whole heart. And that's something that I try to be so intentional about modeling, but also intentional about teaching them, and through life lessons. And so I want them to understand who God is, to love him with their whole heart, and to desire to serve him, but to walk into their calling. Like, God has something so unique and so wonderful for each one of them, and it will not look the same. But I want to see them really, really accept the call, to die to self and to really walk in the path that God has called them to really walk in. I would love to see them really honor, respect, cherish, love family, and love each other, because that's something that we teach. We teach them how to love each other, how to support each other, how to be each other's biggest cheerleaders. So I would love to see them really take those things and adopt them and live them out with each other, but then also pass it down to their children and to their families. And not to say that we'll do everything right and they'll adopt everything that we've done, but I do want, I strongly desire for them to take a lot of the lessons that we're teaching them and to mimic it, you know. I think the other thing is to really see them be bold and courageous and not
Mm,
feel like they have to um, do things the way everybody else do them, that they can't, just be different and like dream big. Like, I want to see them like do that. I think that's very important for them, again, becoming who God has called them to be. I want to watch them take chances, take risks that are healthy,
mhm,
not,
mhm,
just out here wild and out. Like, no, you
mhm,
don't want to see that. But they're gonna bump their heads a lot too.
mhm.
And in bumping their heads, I would love to see them learn from those horrible experiences how to really cling to God's truth
Yeah.
and his power, and tap into his grace and his mercy, and establish a foundation of how to not fall into the same thing like over and over and over again. And so I think those are some of the big things. Like, I have a whole list of things,
Mm,
but those are
mm.
some of the big things that I would really like to Witness firsthand. And it's like, stay close to mama.
Look, the way you answered that question, you about to get 6 and 7 up in this mug.
Stay close to mama.
You about to get 6 and 7.
Boy, please.
What? No, but yes. And if there was any advice that, I can give anybody in parenting, it's shepherd them. Shepherd them to be who they don't belong to you, they belong to God.
That was the hardest lesson for me too.
Yeah.
To understand that.
Yeah, is understand all those gifts have been given to them by him, and your job is to steward that. You're just the money manager. Like, God has given you the resources, they belong to him, and they got to go back to him, and you get to manage that money. And in the meantime, like, don't mess that money up. Like, it's already perfect as it is. Like, your job is just to multiply it. And so, yeah, those kids are precious gold. They're everything. But steward it well, like everything else. And so, Miss Tamela, I thank you for allowing me to steer the ship and guide for this, and I'll happily go back to my co-piloting role, as long as you have me, and then until the next time you let me
let you what?
Steer it again.
Okay.
So just grateful. And that's our time, people.
That's our time.
Look forward to chopping it up with you guys again soon.
And I just want to tell people, there are a lot of blogs. I have written quite a few blogs on a lot of different things.
Dealing with parenting.
Yes, and how we do some things.
Some really good ones.
There are some things that we didn't hit on that you could definitely find there.
Yeah.
www.theFword.us.
That's a lot of depth right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of my life experiences.
For sure. All right, people. Y'all be blessed.
Be blessed.
Tea with Tamela. Let's laugh and spread love.